Welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Deveji, your host. I'm welcoming you, episode 93. And today's number is 89 billion. That's the global vacation rental market size in 2023, $89 billion. In the American Business Podcast, which is the voice of American business, we have experts to bring you informative and educational content. Speaking of global vacation rental market, we have a great guest today. We'll talk about lifestyle asset market, global vacation rental market, and we learn something new, as we always do in the American Business Podcast episode. Let's invite our guest and let's get the conversation started. Hello, Sean. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us in your busy schedule. How is your week going so far?
It is going amazing. It's we always say around here, it's a great day to be alive when we show up to the office. So it's the week's going well. How's your week going?
So far, so good. This morning, I had a chance to speak to some business owners in New York metro area. I talk about digital transformation and CRM software systems. So I started, especially today was actually pretty good, but the week is good so far. So no complaints.
Yeah, you guys have a big change. The eyes are on New York City now. There was a big election for you guys. We're
correct.
We're all wondering how this is going to turn out. So we're watching you guys.
Yes. So fundamentally, our podcast is a non-political podcast, but this is news. Right? This is all news. So absolutely. Yes, we have a new mayor. Yeah, absolutely. That's all good. So in New York City, we have a new mayor. So it's very exciting. We'll see how it's going to go. So they say, from our understanding, about like 58 days till the new mayor gets started. So there is that transition period. So we are all watching, seeing how it's going to be. But it's quite an experience for all of us, and a very colorful election day yesterday and in the last couple of weeks. So we'll see how it's going to go. It remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, right?
Yes.
So we just care how it affects our businesses.
Correct. I mean, in business, as we always do, we always look for prosperity. We always look for good economy, and that stability is always good for us. And New York being the largest city in the country, and it's the most important city in the world in terms of financially, global finance, global business, commerce point of view. Very important for our nation. So yes, absolutely. So all eyes are on New York City, and I think we're gonna see how it's gonna go in incoming months.
Yeah, awesome.
Sounds great. Well, why don't we get started? Would you please introduce yourself and your organization briefly to our audience and to our listeners?
Absolutely. So I'm Sean Moore, founder and CEO of Odyssey, and it is a company that helps vacation rental investors, high income earners, busy professionals, business owners really navigate into alternative investments. We happen to focus on short-term rentals. And so I have been a full-time real estate investor for almost 26 years now. It's all that's paid my bills. And so I've navigated a lot of different asset classes. I started getting into short-term rental investing back in 2006. And then everybody got really introduced to short-term rentals right after COVID. And so it really added fuel to the fire of that business, of that industry. You mentioned there was an $89 billion global market share in 2023, where now it's around $120 billion. And so it just continues to grow. The consumer really likes it. It became a mainstream asset class. And so as such, we started getting a lot of questions about this new asset class. When we started investing in it, it was before Airbnb was even around. And so we were kind of right place, right time when we founded Odyssey and became kind of the U.S. leader in as far as helping U.S. investors be able to navigate this new asset class. And then we've expanded it into a lot of different international markets as well. And so it's been a lot of fun watching this really grow up from the wild, wild west, brand new asset. Not a lot of people knew about it. to being taken really serious as a mainstream asset class now for the residential and the retail investors, kind of the average everyday Americans. Not a lot of institutional investors are looking at it as an asset class because it's hard to place a whole bunch of money in it, right? The big institutional investors need to place hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's not how the short-term rental world works. And so it's been a lot of fun really watching this and navigating it with a lot of retail investors.
When you say it started from Wild Wild West, it really started from the West. I think that's what you meant. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're out in Utah, and it's yeah. I'm always wearing my cowboy hat, my cowboy
I love
boots,
it.
and
Love it.
I have my cows and my chickens and horses, and we have a lot of fun.
That's great. And as we chat earlier, before we get started, I love Utah. I've been there a couple of times for work. It's a beautiful state. So that definitely it's good to talk about it. And I'm glad it all started from there, from the beautiful state. It's exciting.
Yeah, it did. It's a lot of fun, and it's really a hub of, like, we've got they call it the Big Five national parks here in Utah, and so it is a mecca for short-term rentals as well. So it's kind of the backstory of where I started, and then it's grown from there.
Can you tell us about your career path a little bit? How did you get started? How your career path has unfolded over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to college on a basketball scholarship. So I was an athlete back in college, played Division I basketball, and ended up having a job right out of college. Graduated, got a job selling steel as a steel service rep, they called it, and I would sell truckloads of steel to big manufacturing organizations. And my office was right next to this guy that would commute to work in a helicopter. And after a couple months of working there, I thought, I'm going to go find out what this guy does. And we went over, and I knocked on the door, made a little bit of small talk with him, and realized that, and asked him, and he said he was a real estate investor. And I thought, man, that's at this time I was making $31,000 a year selling truckloads of steel, and I was definitely not flying a helicopter to work. And so I started thinking, I started picking his brain a little bit. He wrote a couple books. I read a couple of his books, spent a bunch of time in Barnes and Noble, and followed what he said. And within a couple months, I had bought and sold a contract and made $19,000 by locking a property up and then selling the contract to him. And I thought, man, this was a heck of a lot easier than working a 2/3 of the year to make that same $19,000. So at that point, I decided to get into real estate in real estate investing in my early 20s, and did a lot of fix and flip type of projects, did a lot of development deals over the years. And so my career path has always been in real estate, navigated a lot of residential type real estate, didn't ever really get into the big commercial multifamily stuff. Built and sold and bought and fixed and flipped a whole bunch, hundreds and hundreds of single family homes. And then at the time we started getting into development, I started getting into kind of resort development. And that's what really kind of got me interested in short-term vacation rentals. And I bought a property in a mountain town in Utah and ended up renting it out on the weekends on Craigslist and local classifieds, and started realizing, man, there's some money to be made here. And one thing led to another, and it's where it led us to the short-term rental game, and as much as we're into it now. And a lot of timing was a part of that. Short-term rentals were just getting started; they were just getting popular, and so we were able to ride that wave into the market that it is today.
When you think about your day-to-day work, what are the exciting and challenging parts of your work on daily basis?
Yeah, one of the things I love about real estate is every deal is unique. As much as we follow a blueprint and a path for acquisition, for setup and management, for marketing these properties, every property is very unique. Every person's situation is very unique. I've been very fortunate to be able to work with some of the top investors across the country with what we do. And so we have a finger on the pulse of this industry, to say the least. We work with about 3,000 active investors buying properties. So we're underwriting a lot of deals. We're seeing a lot of deals. And so the exciting parts of my work.
Looks like we lost your voice. Let's see.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, perfect.
Oh, I apologize.
No
I
worries.
don't know when that muted out, so
It's
I
all right.
apologize. It was, but I was just saying the best part about what I like is just being able to see individual deals on a daily basis, and because of the footprint that we have and because of how big Vodacy is and how many deals we underwrite, we're constantly busy, and there's never a dull moment, right? So it's a lot of fun.
What is the state of lifestyle asset market nowadays? How do you see the
Yeah, it's
market?
very Yeah, it's so lifestyle assets, short-term rentals, they were becoming very, very popular right before COVID. They were having a very normal rise to becoming a mainstream asset class, fairly consistent growth, not like skyrocketing growth, pretty consistent growth from about 2014, 15 to about 2019. COVID hit and everything fell off a cliff, but it only fell off a cliff for about 2 weeks. And then as soon as it fell off the cliff, it's almost like it hit the bottom and a rocket ship took off. And instantly, short-term rentals became the shining star of real estate, the shining star of hospitality. Everybody and their dog was making money. It was like having toilet paper during COVID. And it was one of those things that everybody was jumping into. Everybody was making money because the consumer demand was off the charts. That demand has not faded. But what did happen is a lot of investors jumped into the market. So went up. So as supply rose, and it caught up to demand a little bit. Then all of a sudden, short-term rentals started to operate like normal mainstream assets do. And, where you have to compete for some business and you have to figure out marketing and consumer behavior and all those different things that you have to understand in business. It wasn't like people were just knocking down your door and giving you money like they did for a couple of years. And the interesting part about short-term rental and the market itself is the introduction to probably 80% of the people that got into that game and into this game were people that were introduced at the wrong time in the fact that the expectations were set that this was going to be a really easy game to play. It was just like printing money, right? And no business is going to be printing money long term. If you were ever in a business that has you are in one of your growth periods or the really kind of the adoption period, and it feels like you're printing money, that's not going to last long term. And so we are now in the short-term rental game, understanding that this is a mainstream asset class. There's things that you have to do. There's T's to cross, there's I's to dot in order to be successful as a short-term rental investor. And that's where we're at right now. We're also seeing that the consumer has more than adopted this as a travel accommodation choice, and for a lot of different reasons. But like the numbers that you were talking about before, we started at the $89 billion in 2023. We're about $120 billion market size right now globally, and it continues to grow. Every year, the consumer is spending more and more money on short-term rentals. However, short-term rental investors, we're seeing that about 80% of the properties on the market don't make money. And the reason for that is because about 10% of the properties make all the money. And so it's definitely a game that you have to understand how to play at the top of it. But the long-term outlook is that the consumer is spending money on this and they prefer it as an accommodation choice. And in good times and bad, the nice thing about short-term rentals is we're finding there's a lot of surveys when the economic turmoil starts to happen and we start to hear some chatter about people not making as much as they were before, and they're getting a little tighter on their budgets, that people worry that travel is going to subside and stop. And what we're finding is the consumer is saying, "Hey, listen, we might not fly, to Europe or to Hawaii or somewhere like that, but if we can find a drive-to destination that we can share with a couple families, and we have full kitchens and we can cook and we don't have to go out to eat every day, it gives them an economical way to go have vacation." And so we're seeing that demand for short-term rentals continues to grow for a lot of different reasons, and we're pretty excited about it as an asset class that is going to be able to withstand some good times and bad times.
How do you see the impact of AI on business nowadays?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's obviously impacted all of us, and it's impacted every business. I don't know that there's a business that it hasn't impacted. For us, and just as a consumer, the amount of information at your fingertips now, the amount of time that has been reduced to do any research on something it's awesome, right? It's great. We're more efficient. There's a lot of information. Where one of the things we're seeing as a bit of a drawback is because we advertise properties, market properties, we have to attract our customers, convert our customers with pictures and videos. And we're finding that there's a lot of people that are starting to say, hey, listen, we can use AI and get these amazing pictures. We can get these amazing videos of these properties. And it works for them on the front end, but it backfires significantly on the back end, because all of a sudden that guest books that property, and we're finding that they walk in and they show up and they look around and they think, I don't think I booked the same property, right? Because it was all AI generated photos and videos and everything else. And so you have to be very, very careful how you use it as well. In our specific industry, that is one thing that we're seeing backfire on a lot of investors that are using it a little too much to be on the creative side, to on the marketing side, to basically showcase a product that's not really how it looks when you walk in.
Yes, too much polishing. I think makes it look unrealistic.
Yeah, and it's hard because you're like, hey, I want to do everything to put my best foot forward. I want to attract this customer. I want to convert this customer, but you have to be able to retain a customer as well when they walk in that door, and they shouldn't be disappointed that it's worse than they thought. It needs to be, you need to customers need to walk in and it needs to be better than they thought it was going to be. And sometimes AI can, it can put you in a position, if you're not careful with it, to use it too much on the front end and it looks too good.
I like to talk about your role models, if that's okay. Have you had any role models? Have you had any mentors in your career path who help you shape your career path?
I'm a huge believer in coaches and mentors. I do not like to reinvent the wheel anytime I don't have to. I spend a small fortune on mentors, so it would not be fair to say I have one or two. I spend a lot of money on a lot of different coaches and mentors, on specific business stuff, on mindset, on really anything I'm doing. I'm usually hiring a coach or a mentor, and it's really helped us, and in my opinion, helped me accelerate my progress to what we've been able to do. I didn't know anything about coaching businesses. I didn't know anything about what we were doing when we decided to write a book. And so I would hire coaches and mentors, and we took our coaching business from 0 to 8 figures in less than 12 months. And it was, that's not something I'd ever done. I would never have been able to do it in that amount of time if I was trying to figure it out on my own. And so that's just one small example. But I love, and I usually go for the well-known coaches like the Tony Robbins, the Dean Graziosi's, and the people that a lot of people have heard about. But also some of the more niche, smaller coaches that I can dive into and just say, hey, listen, there's this one specific problem I'm working on. Can we dive in and do it? And you may never have heard of it, but I usually budget less or a pretty significant amount of money every single year for coaching and mentoring. And I believe 100% we get a minimum of a 10x return on it. And we're budgeting almost $500,000 a year for coaches and mentors.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
If there is one key career lesson that you learned the hard way, what would it be?
I would say the biggest lesson I've learned over the years is you don't need to be swinging for the fence. When I was early on in my career, I'd always swing for the fence. I'd always try to hit the home run. I was only looking for home run deals. And what happened is I was losing out on a lot of base hits that would turn into home runs over time. And you realize that you have to put the time in regardless. Like, I like to accelerate time with coaches, mentors, things like that we were talking about. But one of the things that I always felt like when I was early on in my career, I was very impatient. Still feel like I'm an impatient person, but I'm way more willing to play the long game now than I ever was in the beginning. And if I knew that early on, and you were willing to play the long game early on, I think I'd be in a much different position. I think a lot of us would be, if we were starting to play the long game early on, instead of looking for that instant gratification, that instant home run. And when you're swinging for a home run every time, you just don't always you never hit the ball, and you end up losing out on a couple of deals and striking out a few times when you could have just taken those base hits and they would have turned into home run over time anyway.
Is there any book, any show, or a movie that helped you shape your career perspective over the years?
Yeah, two of my favorite books written by Tim Grover. It's Relentless and Winning, and I would say those two books have shaped my business career more than any other books that I've read. Outside of the classics of, I'm a Napoleon Hill fan. I love Think and Grow Rich. One of his unpublished books for a long time is called Outwitting the Devil. And I recommend those to anybody starting off in anything. I make my kids read them. And then recently, over the last probably decade, I've loved Relentless and Winning. And what they are is books about the grind and how hard it is to win, and how difficult it is to really be in the winner's circle. And we kind of everybody wants the view, nobody wants to climb type of a book. And a reminder that it's usually ugly, and it's usually you have to roll up your sleeves, and it's usually, hard days. And there's more hard days than there are days that you're sitting there celebrating a lot of times. And I love those books as a reminder that when we're going through those hard days, we're not the only ones. Most winners have done that. Most people who are at the top of anything have been doing that, and they realize that grind. I look at the people who win championships and athletes, and they grab the trophy and they're crying. And a lot of times it's that celebration, that celebratory moment, is that there is a reflection back of how much work it took to get to that point. Right. And those books remind me, and I love those books for that reason, of just saying, hey, listen, winning is sometimes ugly. Winning is hard. It's one of those things that is just, it's not for everybody, and not everybody's cut out for it, for the reason that they just don't stick it out, and they don't have the grit and determination to do it. And so I love those books for those reasons. And then the ultimate classics of Think and Grow Rich, great book by Napoleon Hill, and then Outwitting the Devil is one of my favorites to recommend of people who like Napoleon Hill and have never read that. He was afraid to publish it. He actually never published it while he was alive. His family never published it while they were alive. And if it's something you've never read or heard, I recommend the audiobook of it, because it's two people. It's him having a conversation with the devil and going back and forth on, what it takes to succeed, and what it takes in business and in life to succeed, and how they have this conversation back and forth. Is very interesting to me.
What are your biggest passions and interests outside of work?
So I love the outdoors. I'm a guy that I live on a little mini farm. I wouldn't call it a ranch or a farm. It's kind of a mini farm. We have our little Highland cows and horses and chickens and gardens and all that stuff. And so I love just hanging out, and I love gardening. I love working on the land. One of the things I very much enjoy doing is fly fishing. Out west, we have a lot of rivers, trout rivers, and so we'll take drift boats down and places. I love places my phone doesn't work and we can just disconnect and you find me pretty much any time of the year in the mountains. I'm happy.
Yeah, I think that's the only way that we can really get disconnected nowadays, because of the cell phone and all the connection that we have, over connection that we have.
Yes, actually. Absolutely. It's I'm a big disconnect guy, and so I love the conveniences of being able to connect when we want to, but I love the recharge of being able to disconnect.
Would you say being close to the nature has a positive impact on you in general?
100%. I can't imagine. I very much appreciate those big cities that you live in, and all the things that happen in those big cities. I can't imagine for me being able to not be close to nature and being able to recharge. For me, it's a huge kind of reset button. And so, yeah, I can't imagine being anywhere else.
If you had a chance to go back history, personally and historically, to what time period would you like to go back, and why?
Well, you put me back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, heading out west, settling some of this land, being a homesteader. That would be my.
That is the Wild West.
That is the Wild West. You put me in that environment, I'm pretty happy. I'll put a 6-shooter on my side, a horse, and a wagon, and come out west and find some land. That's me.
So it's gonna be fundamentally the same state, but it's gonna be like 1800s, right? A different time, but the same geography. Yes,
it would definitely be the Intermountain West, Idaho, Utah, Montana. One of Wyoming, maybe Eastern Wyoming or Western Wyoming. I love the mountains out here.
That's amazing. Yes, thank you for this answer. Well, you also mentioned earlier a little bit. Sometimes we have challenges in business. We have difficulties. We have hardships. This happens, and during these times, how to stay motivated and inspired in business?
So this has changed for me over time, right? Because motivation fades. We all know that. Inspiration fades. And so when you really study, or when I do, at least, one of the things that I find as a commonality between really successful people is they don't rely on motivation and inspiration to keep moving forward. They're very disciplined. What they do is they've built a discipline, and they are able to keep commitments, and really keep commitments to themselves. Like, if I tell myself, I'm gonna wake up every single day at 5 and I'm gonna work out, and I start doing that, and nobody knows. I don't post it on social media or anything else, but I know. And it gives me a lot of confidence. And to start off the day is saying, hey, listen, I kept that commitment. I'm going to keep another commitment. And so I think motivation and inspiration need to be replaced with a disciplined routine, where sometimes you just have to do it when you don't want to do it. I have in my office, I have an axe hanging up on the wall. And it's a reminder that most of the things we have to do every day are pretty simple, but they're not always easy. An axe is not an easy tool to use, right? It has to be sharpened. There's got to be an effort put into it. You got to swing that axe. It doesn't have a pull start, right? It doesn't work itself. And so you have to be consistent with where you're hitting that tree. And then the final thing is you have to be persistent, right? A tree is not going to fall with one swing of the axe. And if I'm building a house out in the woods, or building anything, or needing that tree to fall, I've got to swing that axe when my hands hurt, when they're blistered, and I want to do anything but swing the axe. And I think that what you have to do, at least for me, is remind myself that there's going to be plenty of days that I don't want to do certain things. But I want the end result. I want the end goal. And so you have to remind yourself what we're working towards, and realize that it's not always going to be every single day I want to work toward that. But I do want someday to look back and say, man, I did that. And by doing that and reminding yourself of that, in my opinion, that habit of discipline starts to build, and you start to develop this mindset of saying, hey, listen, I'm going to do this, even if I don't want to do it. And the more we do it, the easier it is to not worry so much about the motivation and the inspiration to get us moving.
What is your career advice for the next generation business professionals?
Man, I think the younger generation has such an advantage right now. I do believe that they have, we always try to focus a lot of times when you listen to the news and everything else, we focus on all the hardships and the things of why it's going to be tough for them. One of the things I think is a huge advantage. I have 14-year-old kids, and I have this conversation with them a lot. I have twins, and I tell them, you guys have a big advantage right now, because a lot of people have gotten used to kind of being victims. They've gotten used to, it's okay to be a victim and blame things on other people. And I feel like that younger generation coming up, if they can have a long-term mindset, I'm like, think in 3-5 year timeframes. What are you working on for the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? And when you can start to have a little bit of a long-term mindset, and you develop the skills that a lot of people are losing, communication skills specifically, I think are huge skills to have for the younger generation, because communication leads to influence. And when you can communicate and influence, and ultimately work, and not like say, hey, listen, I'm going to take this personal responsibility, and I'm going to have, self-reliance, personal responsibility, and not play that victim role, or not be a victim. And because guess what? At the end of the day, what if you are the biggest victim? What if all these things happened to you? At the end of the day, who cares? Like, nobody cares, right? It's like, so here's your badge. You might have had some major bad things happen to you in your life, or somebody wasn't fair to you, or whatever else, but it doesn't really matter. And so my advice to the younger generation is forget about that stuff. Let it roll off. Don't lose sight of your 1, 3, 5 year plan, and develop the skill sets that a lot of people are forgetting about. When you go to restaurants and everything else, and you look around, look how many people are just staring at cell phones. And when they are in a group of people, they're staring at a phone. They don't look at people in the eyes anymore. They don't talk. One of the things I talk to my kids about is, at the end of every meal that we have in a restaurant, I ask them what color of eyes the waiter or waitress had, because I want them looking in their eyes. I want them talking to them and looking up. And so trying to say, hey, listen, if you're younger and you develop those skill sets that are kind of getting forgotten about a little bit, in my opinion, and you ultimately take responsibility, don't say, hey, listen, houses are too expensive and I can't do this anymore. I can't do that anymore. Figure out how to do it. There's ways to do it. And when you take that mindset and you look in a little bit longer term time horizon, the future looks really, really bright, I think, for the younger generation.
Appreciate it. Thank you for these insights. For those who likes to continue this conversation with you, learn more about your organization as well as the lifestyle asset market, vacation market, what is the best way to be in touch with you? Also, learn more about your organization.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Kevin. It is, if you go to vodacy.com, that's going to be the easiest place, VODYSSEY.com. And that has links to all of our stuff. We have lots of resources on vacation home investing. I've got a book, we've got a podcast, we've got all kinds of places you can tap into and find out a little bit more about what we're doing. You can follow us on socials, but all of that will be there at vodacy.com. If there's a point where you're saying, hey, listen, I really would like to have a conversation, we've got ways for you to book a call with us and get on the phone, and we'll have strategy calls and help you navigate some of your next steps into short-term rental investing. We love it. It's not for everybody. And so it's good to know the pros and the cons of what you're going to get into. And so that's why we have those. But there's a lot of resources at vodacy.com, and that's the best place for people to start.
Also, on November 21st, we have an online networking event that we stream on the American Business Podcast. Yourself or someone from your team, whoever is available that you like to join, you are more than welcome. I'll send you these invitation as well.
Love it.
And if you like to join, you are more than welcome. If you're not available, someone from your team is also more than welcome.
Awesome.
As well.
We'll make sure I'm there or somebody's there for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yes, I think I have your email address, but to make sure, if you can put it in the chat box for me, I'll make sure I'll send you the invite.
Perfect. We'll absolutely do that.
Yes, I appreciate it. Sean, thank you so much for being with us in your busy schedule. And I really enjoyed the conversation. That was actually very educational. First time we talk about lifestyle asset market. So this was great.
Awesome. And, well, I appreciate you having me, and it's always fun to talk about and network and with other business minds. And so, yeah, I appreciate the conversation, Kevin.
Absolutely. And if you come to New York area, please make sure to let me know so we can.
I will do it. I'll have an extra cowboy hat for you when I come.
Oh wow, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Yeah. I always think about getting one of these, but I never had a chance. So that'd be really cool. Thank you so much for thank you so much for the coming head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Have a great week. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Well, to our audience and to our listeners, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I like it very much. As I always say, we always learn something new. And there is this listening to experts and learning from them, learning from their life experience, professional experience is priceless. And that is why we put together this podcast. That's how we started earlier this year. Now we have episode 93, and our goal is to pass 100 within this year, which we are getting close to. And the beauty of having experts on the American Business Podcast is learning from them. Continuous learning, continuous improvement. And there is always room for improvement. And the American Business Podcast is the platform, is the podcast to share educational content, informative content, and bring you something new in each episode. If you like to be a guest in the American Business Podcast, you can send us an email, americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. Also, we welcome advertisers, sponsors, companies, organizations who like to advertise, sponsor, and introduce their products, services, and promotions. Please send us an email, americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. We have new sponsors and advertisers I'm happy to announce and share with you. And in coming weeks, we're going to be introducing them to you. New sponsors, new advertisers, new organizations. Very exciting, very exciting. So that's great for the American Business Podcast. It is also great for you as part of our community that you are with us. The more support that we get from the business community and yourself, the more content that we'll be bringing you. And this is really exciting for us. And thank you so much for your support. I also like to invite you to our website, americanpodcast.tv. On our website, you can see our coming podcast streaming schedule, and you can also see who will be our guest and what type of subjects we will be covering. And you can also learn more about the American Business Podcast as well and our team, americanpodcast.tv. As you know, a couple of months ago, we got YouTube Silver Award because we passed 100,000 YouTube subscribers. Right now, we have more than 120 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and the American Business Podcast and the influence of the American Business Podcast keeps growing on daily basis. We truly appreciate your support. If you haven't done so, please go to our YouTube channel. I'll put the QR code on the screen. You can scan this QR code on the screen. It'll take you to our YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to our channel. And if you are feeling more generous, please put your comments in the chat box, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. Your feedback, your interactions in our YouTube channel and other social media channels that we are active, really important for us, and we truly appreciate your support. Great. What else is happening? As I mentioned to Sean earlier, we have the online networking event coming up, Connection America Business Alliance. That's what we call. And that is an extension of the American Business Podcast. It is because in the American Business Podcast, we share informative business content. With the Connection America, we help you take action and meet with other business professionals. So you learn in the American Business Podcast and you network in the American Business Podcast. That is how we set this up. And our next online business networking event is coming up on November 21st. What is cool about these online networking events is you will be networking with other business professionals online. You can connect from anywhere, from North America, from anywhere in the world, literally. At the same time, it will be streamed live on the American Business Podcast, and you will be in front of thousands of the American Business Podcast subscribers and followers. That is what is unique about these online networking events. We have limited seating, so please scan this QR code if you're interested and join us. You can introduce yourself, you can introduce your company, your products, your services, your promotions. It's a commercial meeting online, and you can meet with other business professionals and promote your business and your products. I hope you can make it. Last month, we started our membership program, ABP membership program, American Business Podcast membership program. If you like to be a member, if you like to support the American Business Podcast, consider being a member. If you scan this QR code on the screen, it will take you to our YouTube, membership channel. And on this the membership channel, you can pick the membership type that you like. And you can be a member and you can support us. We'll truly appreciate it. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for being with us. The American Business Podcast is the voice of American business. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the coming The American Business Podcast episodes. Thank you very much and have a great day.